Mindful Relationship Habits, 25 Practices for Couples to Enhance Intimacy, Nurture Closeness, and Grow a Deeper Connection. This book was written by Barrie Davenport and S.J. Scott and was published by Create Space Independent Publishing in 2018. In this thoughtful 4-book summary of mindfulness relationship habits, you will explore ways to revitalize your relationship while working on yourself through mindfulness practices. You will also rediscover the joys and benefits of introspection. Just before we dive into the book, let's learn a little bit about the authors. S.J. Scott is an American non-fiction writer who specializes in personal growth and mindfulness, offering practical solutions to people who want to work on their personal development. He is the author of over 30 books, several of which he has co-authored with Barrie Davenport, and many of his bestsellers having been translated into 12 languages. Barrie Davenport is a certified life coach who works with people to improve both their professional careers and romantic relationships. She is the author of several best-selling books and is the founder of the popular personal growth blog Live Bold and Bloom. She has also co-authored a particularly successful series of books with S.J. Scott. And now for the summary of the book, starting with the first important reminder. In an increasingly hectic world, stopping to think and reflect is the best way to reconnect with our feelings. Modern life moves fast. It is easy to feel out of touch with world events when we are constantly bombarded with information from the internet and from social media updates on our friends' lives. This often creates a sense of disorientation that affects many aspects of our personal life, especially our romantic relationship. In an ever-changing world, we often think that we can solve our relationship issues simply by changing partners, but this is rarely the case. Consumerism may be an effective way to drive modern markets, but applying the same theories to our love life will not make us happy in the long run. People are not products, and a stable, loving relationship offers many benefits, such as improving our physical and mental health, encouraging us to live a healthy, longer life, increasing our economic well-being, helping us to feel more content since we have a shoulder to lean on in difficult times, making it easier to have a fulfilling sex life, and giving us the energy we need to raise children to the best of our ability. Cultivating emotional intimacy in our relationship is therefore the secret to long-lasting happiness, and this is the main focus of Scott and Davenport's book, Mindful Relationship Habits, which teaches the reader how to apply the power of mindfulness in a relationship. Every relationship requires commitment and patience. The early stages of romantic relationships are usually light-hearted and easy, and the sense of mystery, excitement, and desire is still strong. Sooner or later, however, this honeymoon phase ends, and we form a more realistic vision of the relationship. There is no such thing as a perfect person, so we cannot expect our partner to be perfect either. As the relationship goes on, we find ourselves tackling the many trials and tribulations of everyday life, such as bills, screaming children, and a mountain of laundry to get done after a hard day's work. The magical and exciting beginning stages of our relationship seem like nothing more than a distant memory, but knowing how to face these new challenges is vital if we want our love to evolve and grow. It is normal for people in a couple to experience feelings of anger, boredom, and resentment every now and again. In order for our relationship to grow, however, we have to consciously try to overcome these feelings, and the habits we cultivate, both individually and as a couple, can help us do this. We tend to be a little self-centered in the beginning stages of a relationship because we want to impress the other person, so we try to show the best version of ourselves. As time goes on, though, we become somewhat lazy and passive, which is why it is so useful to practice mindfulness exercises to make sure we stay focused on our partner. These exercises work on some of the key aspects that often lead to separation, such as poor communication during conflict, defensive and critical behavior, uncontrollable emotions, and negativity when dealing with challenges. Scott and Davenport's book outlines 25 practices and habits that can help couples reach a place of understanding and harmony. Working on our habits requires a great deal of commitment, so the authors advise practicing each exercise for at least 30 days before moving on to the next one, either individually or in groups. It is also easier to develop new habits if we start by focusing on simple exercises, such as turning off our mobile phone during dinner, which can do wonders for the relationship. Finally, the authors suggest that we try to plan out solutions to any obstacles in advance and that we celebrate our achievements, perhaps with gifts to enjoy together as a couple. In order for our relationship to grow, we have to question and push our own boundaries. The author's first piece of advice is to make it a habit to set up regular meetings with our partner. Getting together with our other half to discuss how things are going is a great way to prioritize our relationship without too much stress. We tend to think of love as something that is completely separate from the deadlines and commitments of our job, but the authors maintain that a relationship takes just as much work as any other aspect of life. The meetings remind us of this and help us to effectively plan out and discuss many aspects of the relationship. A couple can decide on the frequency of the meetings, depending on the pressing issues at any given time. Flexibility is key, as is a positive approach and making notes to look back on, which helps us keep track of improvements, behavior to watch out for, and feedback. The second exercise is not really a habit, but an essential skill, as is what the authors call emotional intelligence, which is simply the ability to tune into what other people are feeling. According to some branches of psychology, emotional intelligence depends on 4 main factors or sub-skills. Perceiving non-verbal language, the ability to reason emotionally, interpreting connections between emotional causes and reactions, and managing emotions appropriately. In order to cultivate our own emotional intelligence, we have to learn how to explain how we feel in a calm and caring way, to show physical affection, to listen actively without expressing personal opinions, to take the first step in resolving a conflict, and to accept our feelings freely and easily. The authors suggest that we ask our partner to tell us which areas we need to work on and that we keep track of our improvements or setbacks, which happen to everyone. In the third exercise, we create a vision for our relationship, which is an underestimated but very healthy habit. What do we expect to happen in the next few years? What do we think a healthy couple looks like? Everyone has a different idea of certain concepts, such as love and commitment, so it is important that we try to minimize the risk of misunderstandings by working directly with our partner. We might, for instance, write 100 words, making sure to use we and us to describe our idea of the perfect couple in terms of sexual compatibility, common values, and expectations of our life together. We can also write about other topics depending on what we consider to be most important. We should then discuss our thoughts with our partner and try to find a way to achieve our dreams and objectives. The two visions may not always coincide perfectly, but we have to remember that being in a couple also means making compromises. The fourth habit we need to cultivate is respect, which is too often overlooked in a relationship. After a while, we tend to start taking our partner's love for granted, sometimes showing the worst side of ourselves or forcefully and selfishly imposing our own ideas and desires. In a couple, respect is not just about manners, because it strengthens the foundations of the entire relationship. The authors suggest that we find time to discuss any behavior that we find problematic with our partner, explaining why it makes us feel disrespected. Respect goes hand in hand with acceptance, and according to the authors, we must never try to change our partner. In order to make sure we treat our partner with love and gentleness, the authors suggest writing down a list of the positive qualities that we see in them, such as spontaneity, reliability, sensuality, or curiosity, and that we reflect on how much we have come to appreciate them recently. It is important to remember, however, that people are constantly changing, so they may surprise us in unpredictable ways. Keeping this in mind will help us avoid being too set in our ways within our relationships, so that we can encourage the other person to become anything they want, as long as we do it with empathy and acceptance. The sixth habit encapsulates all the previous practices and involves taking care of our loved one with affection and support. Romantic relationships should not be seen as an obligation, but as a joy, even if they require small daily sacrifices, such as letting the other person have the last piece of that delicious cake in the fridge. We can also show our unconditional support of our partner by praising them in front of other people, as this shows we can always be counted on. Intimacy in a couple thrives on physical and emotional contact. Every successful relationship needs both emotional and physical contact, and the seventh habit reminds couples to seek and offer physical touch as much as possible. Even a soft caress can turn a bad day around. Research also shows that consistent physical contact in a relationship can help communication within the couple. Cuddling can actually improve our well-being, but not everyone is comfortable with physical affection, even in a committed relationship. In this case, the authors advise partners to discuss compromises together, focusing on the most important issues such as hugging, kissing, or showing affection in public. Affection is not just about physical touch, so we also need to use other forms of contact with our partner, such as talking about our hopes and fears or discussing deeper, more serious issues. This creates intimacy and also helps us open up and share our inner life and thoughts with our partner. In order to cultivate the habit of emotional and physical contact, we should choose times to talk to our partner, such as during the weekend or before going to bed. It is also a good idea to take the opportunity to talk with our partner while we are enjoying doing other things, such as cycling or camping. Forming rituals as a couple is another very positive habit. Rituals create social bonds in every culture and help to strengthen intimacy in a relationship, but they must also enable us to show vulnerability. People tend to build emotional barriers around themselves to avoid getting hurt, but this ends up harming our relationship because a couple needs authenticity to grow and thrive. Vulnerability builds self-confidence and mutual trust between people. Showing who we really are also helps our partner understand how to respond in certain situations, from how to offer support in times of stress to finding the right gift for our birthday. There are many ways to show vulnerability, such as telling embarrassing stories from our past, revealing a lie that we have told, or talking about a weakness that we usually hide. Active listening allows us to get to know our partner on a deeper level. Strong relationships are based on mutual respect and affection, but a great deal of our behavior and actions can easily be misunderstood if we do not know our partner extremely well. Some people, for instance, think that teasing or jokingly making fun of the other person is a sign of an easy, comfortable relationship, while others see it as disrespectful. We are all unique, so if we want to have a long and happy relationship, we must really get to know our partner on a deeper level. In order to do this, the authors suggest that we start by finding out how much we actually know about our partner, trying to answer questions about their dream holiday or favorite food or musical tastes. When we get to know our partner, it allows us to develop our own language within the couple so that we form a deeper understanding of the other person. This coded language, however, cannot replace genuine words and gestures of affection. A happy relationship thrives on words of encouragement, gifts, and physical contact, so it is essential that we include these aspects every day. Another factor that everyone deals with very differently in a relationship is conflict. Once again, the most important thing here is to minimize pain and heal any wounds as quickly as possible. Living in the present moment is extremely helpful, but the authors also remind us that getting upset rarely helps resolve the situation. We need to discuss the conflict as soon as possible, while practicing mindful breathing and meditation to stay calm. Conflict is completely normal in any relationship, and sooner or later it happens to all couples. We should avoid retreating into our own shell and instead try to take control of the situation without fear of confrontation. Healthy communication in a couple is based, among other things, on the ability of both people to initiate conflict resolution processes. In order to be effective, this conflict resolution should take place at the right time and in the right place. It should also use constructive language to discuss solutions. It should give space to both partners' thoughts through active listening, and it should aim to explore any further issues that may be causing problems. The authors also talk about active listening, which is essentially the ability to listen without judgment and to communicate assertively, while also taking into account what the other person has not said. Active listening is based on acceptance and empathy and makes it easier to reach an agreement. It gives us a shoulder to cry on in hard times, and it helps build a relationship that provides a safe space for both partners. A good way to start learning how to listen actively is to discuss issues together, such as a problem at work, an urgent decision we are unsure about, or a sexual need we have never brought up before. The role of the active listener is to pay attention to the body language and feelings expressed by the other person, without trying to offer solutions or opinions, perhaps simply asking questions every now and again to help their partner express themselves. Effective communication in a relationship relies on the ability to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and to distinguish our own feelings from those of our partner. Empathy is an invaluable skill in so many areas of life, and especially in a relationship, so the authors suggest that we practice it as much as possible throughout the day. Contrary to popular belief, empathy is not an innate talent, but a skill that can be trained and developed. It helps us to resolve conflict and to understand our partner's feelings, which naturally leads to greater intimacy. In order to develop this skill, we can start by simply paying more attention to our partner's wishes through active listening. We should also try to put ourselves in our partner's shoes and tell them about how we felt in that moment. We might try to take on some of the responsibilities that normally fall on our partner, such as taking the children to school or paying the bills. These small gestures help us gain a new perspective on our relationship and on our partner's needs and wishes. Putting ourselves in our loved one's shoes opens up a deeper, more honest conversation. Sometimes, however, we need to step back into our own emotions without projecting our own thoughts and feelings onto other people's behavior, especially during arguments. When we tend to blame the other person for certain actions or words, overusing the word you and forgetting that the best way to resolve conflict is simply to express how we feel. In the early stages of a romantic relationship, the lines between the two people tend to become blurred, almost as if they become one person. But as time goes on, they both gradually go back to seeing themselves as two separate people with their own unique identities. Conscious love relies on this sense of individuality, particularly in times of conflict when arguments have a habit of flaring up more easily. Making small changes to the way we speak can work wonders for our relationship, especially when it comes to the word but, which people generally use to express complaints during an argument. Being aware of how we use this word is the first step in making sure we always speak to our partner in a positive and inclusive way. Another healthy habit is to express ourselves directly, because every message we communicate clearly, whether positive or negative, is an opportunity to gain understanding. The 20th habit also focuses on communication and urges us to use our anger constructively. Many conflicts arise because we have trouble controlling our words during an argument, so we end up saying things we regret later. Instead, we should try to notice any physical changes in ourselves that signal that we are becoming angry, because it allows us to avoid losing control altogether. We also need to train ourselves to analyze the reasons for our angry outbursts. Naming and rationalizing our anger releases its destructive power and makes room for more effective ways of expressing our feelings, which makes it easier to find a solution to the problem. The 21st habit is also related to anger and our ability to consciously apologize. Just as we need to listen to our feelings in order to express them more effectively, we must also closely observe our actions. When we deliberately and consciously apologize while also trying to improve our behavior and attitude, it helps our partner see that we are responsible and that we can be trusted. Self-love and a fulfilling sex life help a couple stay strong. The author's final 4 habits focus on ways to keep the passion burning in the relationship, to maintain our childlike playfulness, to disconnect from the digital world from time to time, and on ways to love ourselves. A fulfilling sex life is a vital part of a romantic relationship. Scientific studies also show that a good sex life has numerous benefits, both in terms of intimacy in the couple and for our own physical health. Among other things, a satisfying sex life has been found to improve the quality of our sleep, to reduce the risk of cancer, and to help manage anxiety and anger. The authors suggest having open, in-depth conversations with our partner about all our unspoken desires. No matter how well we think we know ourselves, there is always room in life for new discoveries, especially in an intimate and loving setting, and this habit lets us talk about what we think is missing in the relationship. Maintaining our playful side is also essential for a fulfilled and happy life. Work and the responsibilities of adult life tend to overshadow our sense of carefree lightheartedness, but we can get it back with a little time and effort, perhaps by taking up a new hobby with our partner. Being playful also means cultivating our creativity, which we can do easily in every area of daily life, from shopping to cooking. The authors also suggest cutting down on the time we spend on our technological devices when we could be paying attention to our partner. Smartphones have taken up more and more space in every area of our private life, and learning to restrict our time online might well make more room for intimacy. The 25th and final habit the authors encourage us to adopt is all about loving ourselves. If we do not appreciate who we are, it makes it extremely hard for us to give our partner authentic love. Loving ourselves builds up our self-esteem, which increases our sex drive, helps us manage our anger and anxiety, and leads to more effective communication with our partner. That concludes our 4-book summary of mindful relationship habits. If you would like to learn more about the tips and practices discussed above, why not read the book? And now for our selection of just a few interesting quotes from the book. New love is so powerful that it can inspire you to do things you never thought possible. If only this new love superpower could be bottled. Learning how to build and nurture a healthy love relationship is one of the most important endeavors you will ever undertake. Crafting a relationship vision forces you to be more mindful because it requires you to define your goal and expectations. And finally, before signing off, we will leave you with our key takeaway message from the book. Mindful Relationship Habits provides a series of 25 exercises that everyone can practice patiently and mindfully in order to improve their relationship with their partner. From active listening to creating rituals together, the authors base their advice on the essential values that underpin any lasting relationship. Mutual respect, showing affection, accepting our partner's imperfections, and effective, firm, and clear communication. All 25 of these habits can be developed through self-reflection and by taking notes. The book advises us to look at each aspect of our relationship and write down a few lines about our expectations and mistakes, from sex to decision-making. Then we are encouraged to talk about it with our partner, asking for feedback and discussing any compromises and ways to work on any issues.